Several B-2 stealth bombers flew over 13,000 kilometers from the base in Missouri in the United States.
It was midnight. 7 stealth bombers sliced silently through Iranian airspace.
Surprise attack destroyed hundreds in hours.
No escorts, no warnings, carrying weapons that could punch through 300-foot-deep bunkers like paper. Their targets? Nuclear facilities Iran thought untouchable. Within hours, decades of work were reduced to smoking craters. And here's what terrifies America's enemies. This was just a warm-up. Today, the US commands the most devastating bomber force in history. Planes that can strike anywhere on Earth with precision deadly enough to level cities or hit a single window. And to understand just how they do it, we need to go inside these incredible war machines. The early strike, Operation Midnight Hammer. When those B-2 Spirit bombers emerged over Iran's Fordo nuclear facility, they weren't just dropping bombs. They were sending a message written in 30,000-pound bunker busters. Operation Midnight Hammer lasted just 15 minutes. 7 B-2s carried 14 GBU-57's massive ordnance penetrators. Facilities that Iran thought were untouchable became rubble. It was surgical destruction on a massive scale. But that Iranian strike was only the latest chapter in a story of aerial warfare spanning 8 decades. A story of bombers reshaping battlefields, toppling governments, and sometimes preventing world wars. Right now, America has 140 strategic bombers, more firepower than most nations could dream of. Each bomber carries more destructive power than entire air forces had decades ago. Each one can fly farther than most countries are wide. And each one can stay airborne longer than most of us stay awake. Scattered across the globe, they're ready to respond to threats that haven't even appeared yet. And with that kind of global reach and unstoppable firepower, it's time to see how one of the most iconic bombers in history, the B-52, turns raw power into precision on the battlefield. The power of the B-52, America's workhorse. Let's start with the legendary B-52 Stratofortress. When a B-52 goes to war, it doesn't carry a handful of bombs. It carries up to 70,000 pounds of precision-guided explosives. That's the equivalent of 35 cars worth of destruction, all guided to their target with deadly accuracy. Precision is key. During the 2003 invasion of Iraq, B-1B Lancers were hitting individual buildings within city blocks while leaving neighboring structures untouched. This wasn't carpet bombing. It was surgical warfare. The B-1B, nicknamed the Bone, became the backbone of America's air support in Afghanistan and Iraq, flying over 10,000 combat sorties across decades of operations. Imagine 45 aircraft providing continuous air support across 2 theaters for over 20 years. Ground troops learned that when they called for fire, it was often a B-1B that answered. These bombers would loiter for 12 hours, ready to strike within minutes. Taliban fighters learned to fear the whistling sweep of their wings in the Afghan sky. And in 2012, 9 B-1Bs flew 770 sorties in just 6 months, keeping one bomber airborne over Afghanistan at all times. That's 9,500 hours of relentless presence over enemy territory, something no other nation could sustain. But while the B-1B showed raw endurance and precision, another bomber was redefining how wars could be fought silently, unseen, and unexpectedly. The stealth advantage, the B-2 Spirit. The B-2 Spirit is the world's only combat-proven stealth bomber. Its first missions showed that sometimes the most devastating attacks are the ones nobody sees coming. Take March 1999 in Yugoslavia. NATO forces were struggling to stop ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. Diplomacy had failed, and a ground invasion seemed inevitable. Then, under the cover of darkness, B-2s flew from Missouri to strike targets in Belgrade with perfect precision. Radio silence, total stealth, and unmatched accuracy allowed them to dismantle enemy infrastructure without warning. Yugoslav air defenses, including advanced Russian SA-6 and SA-10 missiles, were helpless. Radar operators saw nothing but birds on their screens while military installations exploded. The psychological impact was enormous. If your most protected targets can be destroyed by aircraft you cannot see, detect, or engage, your entire defense strategy crumbles. That stealth advantage became even clearer during the 2011 Libya campaign. where B-2s dismantled Gaddafi's air defenses in the opening hours. These were surgical strikes, not terror bombing campaigns, designed to cripple military capability while minimizing civilian casualties. And when we look at the B-2 in the Middle East, its precision becomes even more evident. In October 2024, 5 B-2s struck underground weapons bunkers used by Houthi rebels in Yemen. Targets buried 50 feet underground were opened like tin cans by guided penetrators. The message was clear: no target is safe, no distance too far, no defense impenetrable. And when precision and stealth met real-world stakes, Operation Midnight Hammer proved just how deadly these bombers can be. Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran in 2025. This brings us to perhaps the most significant modern bomber operation, Operation Midnight Hammer. Iran had been enriching uranium beyond civilian needs. Diplomacy failed, sanctions failed, and military action became inevitable. 7 B-2s took off from multiple bases, converging on Iran with 14 GBU-57s. The Fordo facility, buried deep and heavily defended, was destroyed in minutes. The precision was surgical. Natanz received additional strikes to eliminate specific centrifuge halls while leaving administrative areas untouched. The bombers flew over 4,000 miles round-trip and returned without detection or damage. These weapons are engineering marvels. The GBU-57 can punch through over 200 feet of reinforced concrete, guided by GPS accurate to within 3 feet. They carry warheads designed for maximum effect against underground targets. But destruction alone isn't the goal. Modern bombers integrate intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance into their missions, turning aircraft into flying command centers. B-52, Intelligence and Recon. The B-52 isn't just a bomb carrier, it's a sensor platform. Synthetic aperture radar can map targets through clouds and darkness. Electronic intelligence systems intercept enemy communications. Targeting pods track multiple threats simultaneously. In Afghanistan, B-52s orbited at 30,000 feet, monitoring enemy movements and relaying real-time data to commanders on the ground. These bombers can adapt mid-mission. New targets can be engaged before the aircraft leaves, and electronic warfare systems jam enemy radar and missiles, protecting the aircraft from threats that would have destroyed planes in earlier eras. The evolution of tactics is clear. In World War II, bombers flew massive formations to overwhelm defenses. Today, a single stealth bomber can achieve what hundreds of planes could not. Precision reduces the number of sorties needed, and integration with ground, naval, and space assets makes each mission far more effective. Of course, pulling off these missions takes more than tech. It takes flawless coordination on a global scale. Logistics and operations. Modern bomber missions are feats of coordination. Operation Midnight Hammer required aerial refueling across continents, weather monitoring on multiple continents, and spare aircraft ready for contingencies. Maintenance crews worked in shifts to keep planes operational, performing miracles under intense pressure. Parts were cannibalized from other aircraft, emergency repairs completed in field conditions, all to ensure mission success. When facing modern air defenses like Russia's S-400 or S-500 systems, stealth and electronic warfare technologies are critical. The B-21 Raider represents the next generation, incorporating stealth and electronic systems that make even the B-2 appear primitive. And behind every successful mission is a crew trained to handle extreme stress, split-second decisions, and cutting-edge systems. Bomber crews and training. But technology alone doesn't win wars. Bomber crews must navigate hostile airspace while managing complex weapons and maintaining situational awareness. B-2 pilots can fly 30-hour missions, staying alert while handling million-dollar weapons. Training is years-long, including simulators that replicate extreme scenarios. Selection is rigorous. Psychological testing, medical exams, and background checks ensure only the best join this elite force. These crews carry not just weapons, but responsibility for outcomes that can shape conflicts. Modern bombers also integrate unmanned systems, providing reconnaissance, decoys, and additional firepower, all extending their reach and survivability. Speaking of cutting edge, the arsenal these bombers carry turns them into unstoppable force multipliers. Weapons and capabilities. Bomber weapons are diverse. GPS-guided munitions, laser-guided bombs, sensor-fused weapons, bunker busters, cluster munitions, and standoff missiles like the AGM-86 allow bombers to hit targets hundreds of miles away. This forces adversaries to defend against threats they can't see, changing the psychological calculus of war. Hypersonic weapons and AI-guided systems promise even faster, smarter strikes in the future. Modern bombers do more than deliver bombs. They act as flying command centers. Advanced sensors and electronic warfare systems let crews track enemies, jam radar, and coordinate strikes in real time. Paired with precision weapons, this makes bombers force multipliers, shaping entire battlefields while staying out of reach of most threats. But bombs and missiles aren't the whole story. These aircraft also shape diplomacy and intimidate adversaries without firing a shot. Deterrence and psychological impact. Bombers aren't just about destruction, they're about deterrence. The mere presence of American bombers over Allied regions or near potential conflict zones sends a powerful message. They influence enemy behavior, shape diplomacy, and help prevent conflicts from escalating. Demonstrations over the South China Sea or Europe remind the world that America can project power anywhere. The industrial and economic footprint of bombers also matters. These aircraft are expensive, yes, but they prevent wars that would cost far more. Technological advancements from bomber programs spill into civilian applications, and their presence safeguards national security while sending a global warning. They support thousands of jobs across manufacturing, maintenance, and research sectors. Every upgrade or new bomber program drives innovation in materials, avionics, and propulsion that benefits broader industry. In this way, bombers contribute not just to defense, but to economic growth and technological leadership worldwide. And all this power comes with responsibility. Legal, ethical, and environmental considerations guide every mission. Modern bombers operate under strict rules of engagement. Precision weapons make compliance with international law easier, minimizing civilian casualties. Real-time intelligence allows commanders to adapt missions to avoid unintended damage. Environmental concerns are addressed through fuel-efficient engines and flight planning. Ethical training emphasizes restraint alongside tactical skill. But even with all these measures, the sheer destructive power of strategic bombers carries heavy responsibility. Commanders and crews must constantly weigh the potential consequences of every strike, balancing military objectives with moral and political considerations. Decisions aren't just about hitting a target, they're about protecting innocent lives, maintaining global stability, and upholding the credibility of international law. This careful calculus ensures that while bombers remain unmatched tools of power, their use reflects both precision and prudence, reinforcing that modern warfare isn't just about firepower, but judgment. Even with precision and rules in place, the future will test bombers like never before against advanced defenses and cyber threats. Future challenges. Looking ahead, bombers will face advanced air defenses, cyber attacks, anti-satellite weapons, and other technologies designed to disrupt operations. Resilient navigation, secure communications, and AI-assisted systems will be essential. Human judgment remains crucial, integrating experience, skill, and ethical decision-making with cutting-edge technology. The B-21 Raider will integrate stealth, electronic warfare, modular design, and networked unmanned systems to create unmatched operational capability. Together with upgraded B-52s and modern B-1Bs, this will ensure America's bomber force remains dominant. Emerging threats will also push bomber crews and planners to innovate in how missions are executed. Coordinated operations with space assets, cyber units, and unmanned drones will become standard, creating a seamless, multi-domain battlefield. Crews will need to think several moves ahead, anticipating enemy countermeasures and adapting in real time. Training pipelines are evolving to prepare aviators for this complexity, combining advanced simulators, AI-driven scenario planning, and joint force exercises. The future of bomber warfare won't just rely on raw firepower. It will demand agility, coordination, and foresight to stay ahead of any adversary. In the end, it's not just technology, it's skill, judgment, and courage that make these bombers true. Guardians of freedom. When America's largest bombers go to war, They carry the combined might of the world's most advanced technology and the skill of the finest aviators. From surgical precision strikes to decades-long campaigns, these aircraft project power, deter aggression, and protect allies. The 7 B-2s that turned Iran's nuclear ambitions into rubble, the B-1Bs saving lives in Afghanistan, and the legendary B-52s operating for 7 decades. They aren't just planes. They're guardians of freedom, ready to act when diplomacy fails. As the B-21 Raider joins the fleet, America's strategic edge will only grow. And while these bombers hope never to fight, their very presence keeps war at bay. When you see contrails high overhead, remember, it might be one. That's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of America's biggest bombers, the B-2, B-21, and B-52, and the incredible technology, skill, and strategy that make them unmatched in modern warfare. From surgical strikes to global deterrence, these aircraft aren't just machines. They're symbols of precision, power, and preparedness. If you found this documentary as fascinating as we did,